Hello and welcome to part 3 of Arrow Assembly for the SCA Target Archery. So, last time we um, put the stain on it, and so they're nice and all stained and nice and pretty. I still haven't cut it yet. I'll cut that today. And today we'll be putting on the nocks, and we'll be putting on tips or points. Okay, and we'll show you how to do that in a second. But first of all, one thing I did off camera that I want to clarify is I also sealed the arrow, not just with stain, but I used polyurethane spray to make sure it's sealed and waterproof, water resistant, and stuff like that. So I want to show you that all I did was on this fake one, not fake one, but uh, dummy one, is what I did is you just I don't hold it. I do hold it. I lean it up, but I spray nice and even as I turn, and then I hang it up, and I wait for it to dry. So another thing about staining, when you wipe the stain on and you let it set about 15-20 minutes, you come back and you wipe the excess off, and then you could put more on if you want it darker. Um, I did it twice, just twice, and hopefully it will match the the arrows that the one arrow that I used as a prototype. So after that, now we have our arrows, and our arrows are straightened, they are stained, they are sealed. Now we're going to cut to length. Remember, the length is how long you want the bow, or how long you want the arrow is when you have it all fully stretched out, and that should pass the front of the bow by at least probably about an inch and a half, depending on what you like. Some people like longer. Some people think that might affect the trajectory. I'm not normally going to tell you what is right, what is wrong. Okay, so I put it in the vise to cut, and if you notice on the vise, you can see that there's leather inside the vise so that it doesn't make marks on the arrow. Okay, so now I will cut it, and it's pretty simple to cut because it doesn't have to be pretty, because remember, this is going to be where the either the point is or the knock, so it doesn't have to be completely pretty. All right, that's it. Now, to make the proper angle for the knock, I've bought this. This is for a 5/16 arrow. You notice that one side is a little smaller than the other. Okay, the longer side here is for the tip or point, and this shorter side is for the knock. So I'm going to use this as the knock, and it's basically just like an old-fashioned pencil sharpener. Make sure you go all the way to the end. All right, and it makes a nice angled thing. Now, what I like to do both on the points and the nocks is I like to put little cuts in them to have little basins for the glue to hold. You don't have to do this. I just recommend it because that's what I do. and it's just a bunch of little cuts. All right, so we have that. Now to put the tip on, you don't just put the glue on, put tip on, done. You have to look and see where the um, uh, the veins of the arrow go. And if you could see, I don't know if you could see this. Okay, they'll have little circles to where the veins go, and so you want to put the knock on so that it's perpendicular to the veins. So I see that the veins are coming this way, so I'm going to put the knock going this way, so that when it is on the arrow, the the bowstring will hit the crossways of the grain instead of hitting with the grain, because there's a possibility that there are weaker spots that it might break through. So that's how I'm going to do it. To glue them glued on, it's very simple. You don't need expensive glue. You can use crazy glue, gorilla glue, anything that even wood plastic glue, something that glues wood and plastic together. What I use is, because I have it with me, is the Fletch Tight, which is the same glue that I use with the arrow fletchings, obviously. So you can get these at any archery store too. So I just put a little glue in here and a little glue in there. Not too much, especially with this stuff. You don't need too much. Find that grain again and put it perpendicular with the grain, just like this, and just press it in. You will have a little bit of excess. Make sure you use paper towel or something. All right, make sure that is set and the knock is on. Boom, that's it. And then we'll let that set and dry for a few minutes. Doesn't take too long for the Fletch Tight to set. Again, Gorilla Glue and Crazy Glue, it takes only a couple seconds for that to happen. So then we can go on to the tips. Now remember, all of this is all 5/16 size of diameter because it has to fit the shaft right. Now for the tips, these are 100 grain. They usually come in 75, 100, 120. There are others as well. You can do heavier or lighter. For target archery, you don't need a heavy tip. For really, for regular average bow draw weight, excuse me, you don't need a heavy tip to keep it from doing silly things. But so I usually use 100 or even 70 myself, and I use a 40-pound bow, which is a little more than average. All right, so the first thing you need to know about these field tips are there is oil inside, so you have to take the oil out. I use a little rag, and I make sure that I have all the oil taken out. Or as much of the oil as I can, because it doesn't work well. Oil and glue don't go together very well. Okay, so that's that. Now the second thing is I like to angle. I like to file down the diameter of the not diameter, circumference of the tip in the back, because it is it cuts down on sticking when you shoot into a bale of hay and you accidentally get where the twines are or something like that, and sometimes they get stuck. This will pull out easier. Also, if you are in shooting into a target that is hard foam or something like that, less likely they'll less likely pull off because they have there's nothing or less to catch on to. So we're going to do that with a simple file and just go around the edges. No big deal, not a lot. Just enough. And you don't have to do this. I tend to do it because I got this idea from a friend and I trust him. Alright, so that's done. Now the tip is circular, doesn't matter how you put it on. So first of all, we need to make the angled, the tip of the shaft angled. So remember this trusty device that is used, it looks like a pencil sharpener, but it's different angles. This is specifically for 5/16, and I think it costs under $5. So put it in just like a pencil sharpener. And this is the other reason why it doesn't really matter what the tips are doing, the tips of the shafts, if you get it all with a with the stain or the polyurethane, some type of sealant. So now you notice that this angle is, there you go, is so much different than the angle from the knock. Okay, so to do this now, there are different ideas for this as well. A lot of people just put regular glue, hot glue, something like that for the tips. I use 2-ton epoxy. It tends to work pretty well for me. Again, I'm going to make the little incisions as to not too thick, not too many, but enough where it has something to catch. Now, so this 2-ton epoxy I have actually has 2 different valves that you have to mix together. So there you go. Remember, this stuff it's not very expensive, but it's something that you shouldn't waste. So try not to use too much of it. I'm going to be doing a dozen arrows, so and this dries, the set's pretty quick. You got to mix it together, mix it real good. I use, expensive stuff that I have is a bunch of chopsticks I got at a Chinese restaurant. And you mix it together. Alright, so then you want to put it around. It's a generous amount, but not too much, because there's going to be excess. And also, couldn't find the tip, and I put it in one spot so that I don't forget where it is, and obviously I forgot where it was. So a little bit here, a little there. Make sure you get it all around. Make sure you get it all the way inside, because that's where a lot of the reservoir of it is going to be. Alright, and you want to make sure this is straight, so I'll put it on here. I twist it a lot, and I twist it as I turn it in, or I twist it as I push it down, and take the excess off with my paper towel. Alright, you want the tip to be straight, so you want to make sure that doesn't go any wonky anywhere. If it does, you gotta take it off and do it again. Looks mighty straight to me. All right. Give it one little more press. Wipe it down. And voila. We are done with putting the knock and the tip or point on the arrow. And that's it for this this round. Our next round, it will be our next part will be part 4, I believe, and that will be putting the fletchings on, which is it's a little tedious, but it's also really fun. And it because there's 12. If you have a dozen arrows and three fletchings a piece, there will be 36 times where you have to put it on the inside the fletching machine, or jig is what it's called. So that's it for today for part 3. We have the tips and the knocks on, and then we're ready to continue the next part. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time.